What's going on? And welcome to the Score Fantasy Basketball Podcast. I am Waiver Wire Queen. Today we are going to talk about must-add players on waivers week 13 in fantasy basketball. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, and if you enjoy listening to the podcast, you can check us out on all major podcasting hosting sites. Let's jump right into some of these players. Now, some of these players I will recommend have short-term value. And when I mean short-term value, it may just be for a game or two. Some short-term value may mean a week. And then others may have long-term value. I will let you know which players have the short-term value and long-term value. Let's jump right into those players. Anfernee Simons is my top ad due to several reasons. Obviously, Dame is dealing with some injuries. He's been banged up pretty much this entire season. And you have CJ McCollum, who is still out indefinitely with the lung issue. And we do not know when he's going to return. So naturally, Simons is going to be one of the next players up and able to play. He's going to start most likely going forward until both of these guys return and are healthy and able to play. Currently, Simons is rostered in 60% of Yahoo leagues, which is really good. Should be higher. If you have Dame and you don't have any better options, then I recommend going and picking him up to help your squad. This is what I did in one of my leagues because I'm struggling with some players who are injured and some inconsistent players. And so I have Dame and I'm like, well, I'm going to go pick him up and see if he can help me until Dame is at full strength. Simons is going to get you between 19 and 21 fantasy points. So if you're in a points-based league, best believe that average, what he's been doing this season, is going to increase drastically. But keep in mind, he is an inconsistent player, okay? You're not going to get a high percentage from the field, although he is shooting 39% from threes, which is very impressive. I expected that to be lower, but shooting a solid percentage from threes. Nonetheless, he is a volume scorer. He is going to score the ball. That is what he is going to do. And he's going to do that whether some nights he's going to go off and have one of those really great games. And then it's going to be some nights where he is going to be inconsistent and you're going to be like, damn, I wish I would have went elsewhere. And it's going to be hard to predict at times because that's just the type of player he is, okay? Nonetheless, he's still a really good player. Over the last 3 games, 14 points, 28 points, 43 points. He went off. He's a scoring guard. That is just his thing. Let's look a little bit deeper and a little closer at some of his statistics throughout the season to see exactly what I am talking about when I say that he is very volatile and inconsistent. So when you look at the stats over the last few games, you're seeing he went off for 43 points. Again, that is amazing, okay? And he had a really good night from the field, 13 from 21 from the field. And you look 9 out of 16 from threes. That is really, really good. Not going to get much out of the reboundings, but 7 assists is solid for him as well. And then you look again, 28 points, 14, 11, 7. And then you see the inconsistencies, but that has been times where, Dame has been there and they really don't utilize him as much. But you can see he is capable of having one of those games, as you can see right here, 24 points, 26 points. So again, he is a scoring guard and available. I mean, 60% ownership still means there's a 40% chance that you can get him. And I like those odds because, again, I was able to pick him up in a league and utilize his services, help my team out tremendously. And that is all you really can ask for when you are picking these players. You're looking for someone who's going to help your team daily at this point. Again, like we said last week, we're looking at things from a daily perspective until everything gets back to normalcy when it comes to players being in the health and safety protocol due to COVID. Again, different situation with the Trailblazers with both of their top guys being hurt. And then you keep hearing Dame's name or even CJ's name in trades. So I would grab Simons and hold on to him, because there may be a strong possibility that CJ or Dame may not be with the Trailblazers for the remainder of the year. And it may not be due to injuries. It may be due to a trade. And that would elevate Simons to a starting role, pending on which one of these guys is traded. But nonetheless, if one is traded and they do obtain a player that's going to force Simons to stay within the bench role, I still feel he has some solid value. So if you have him, great. If you don't, and you have Dame or CJ McCollum and you can grab Simons, pick him up, because he's going to help your team. Right now, he is definitely a great player to add. Let's switch it up and talk about a center in the NBA that's been playing his tail off. Omer Yurtseven. That's right. With the Heat. Some people may have thought that once Jimmy returned and some of their other key players returned, that his production was going to decrease drastically. Well, I'm here to tell you it hasn't thus far. Obviously, once Bam returns, his production is going to decrease. I do not feel that they should elevate Dedmon over this young man. This young man has been playing out his mind. He's playing much better than even Dedmon was playing. And in my opinion, he should end up being the one to back up Bam once Bam is healthy enough to return to the game. But nonetheless, we're talking a lot. Let's talk about what this young man has been doing. First of all, he is rostered in 59% of Yahoo leagues, which is extremely low in my book. The guy, if nothing else, is going to rebound the hell out the ball. If you are in a categories-based league and you are looking for a center to get you some rebounds, he's going to at least get you a minimum of 10. And I'm thinking that's on the lower level. He's closer to 13 or 14. He's a rebounding machine. And so I expect his percentage being rostered to be much higher than 59. But, you know, there are other players out there who are helping teams. But nonetheless, if you can pick him up, do so. On the season's average, he's normally going to get you between 14 and 16 fantasy points. That obviously has increased due to the increased minutes he has received. On the season, average 5.5 points per game and 6 rebounds. So even with even early on in the season, he didn't have a lot of playing time. He was pretty much not in the rotation. He still is able to get the 6 rebounds per game, but we already know that that has increased drastically. So let's take a look at what he has been doing for the Miami Heat, because he has been doing the damn thing, y'all. All right, so let's just look at the rebounds over the last several games. 17, 16, 14, 13, 16, 13, 12, 15, 7, 12, 12. You know, obviously, he's going to rebound the ball, all right? There are times where he's going to score the ball as well. And I don't know about you guys, but if I'm able to find a center on waivers who is capable of getting me 13, 14 rebounds and some nights 16 and 17, I'm going to pick him up in a categories-based league, especially if I am struggling, until I know that Bam is back and this young man's minutes decreases. Right now, he is getting all of the playing time because Bam is obviously out and he is playing well. So when you have somebody playing as well as he is, you don't put him back on the bench, especially if your top dog is still out. So if Bam's still being out, this young man still has great value, and you should definitely check for him, if nothing else, in a categories-based league for rebounds, because he is going to help your team. And in a categories-based league, okay? And again, there's nights where he's going to have a double-double, which is really good. So let's switch it up and talk about the young talented forward from the Pelicans, Herbert Jones. This young man is rostered in over 50% of Yahoo leagues, which means he is still available. He's going to get you between 21 and 23 fantasy points on a nightly basis. If you're looking for 3-point shooting, stay away from him because he's only shooting 34% from threes. However, he's shooting over 47% from the field, but that's going to be points coming within the paint area. He doesn't have that mid-range game. So within the paint area around the basket, he's going to get his points. He's averaging a little over 8 points per game on a season, 3.8 rebounds, and he's a solid defender. So he will be able to help you in blocks and steals and bring that good defense to your team. So understand that most people probably was thinking that, hey, Ingram's back, his role was going to, decrease. I feel like he solidified his role, although we do not know if and when Zion's going to return. If Zion was to return, then you may see his role change and then his stats decrease. If that occurs, then you know what you need to do. But right now, we have no clue what's going on with Zion, and we're not going to worry about that. We're just going to focus on the fact that, hey, this young man is playing very well, and we want him on our team. If you can find someone on waivers in a points-based league that is going to get you between 21 and 23 fantasy points, that is what you want, because you have things to worry about, such as COVID protocol. Obviously, players are in the protocol, load management, and injuries. So those are the 3 things you have to plan for. Again, players in the health and safety protocol due to COVID, 2, injuries, and then 3, load management. And this young man can help your team right now with any of those issues. Let's talk about one of my favorites, Gallinari. That's right. Forward with the Atlanta Hawks. I'll tell you this, he's going to be inconsistent as hell this season. Sometimes it's his play, but sometimes it's just the fact that they have so many players that play the same position. But when you have players like John Collins still out and some other players not playing well or out due to injuries, he's going to have an increased role. Although, again, I must stress, he is going to be inconsistent as hell, and therefore tread lightly. There's a big warning when you pick him up. So he's more of a spot start, daily fantasy. Hopefully you hit on the night that you decide to utilize him, because again, inconsistent. Once Collins returns, he still will have a role, but it's going to be even more inconsistent than what he has done this season. So I would stay away. But for right now, take a chance on him, especially in daily. Very much short-term, inconsistent ad to help your team. Right now, he's rostered in 16% of Yahoo leagues. Again, Collins is out, so his minutes have increased, and he is playing slightly well. Again, inconsistent at times. Okay, he's going to get you between 17 and 19 fantasy points, averaging 9.8 points on the season and 4 rebounds per game, shooting 40% from threes, which is really good. His field goal percentage is under 40%, which is not that great. And again, he's going to be inconsistent. So when you do decide to pick him up, check on matchups. If it's a team that their defense is really not that good when it comes to guarding threes and forwards, because he'll be playing pretty much at the power forward spot, and it's going to be one of those shootouts, then he's a player that you can look closely at, and he should help you for that game. Let's switch it up to Philly and talk about Furkan Korkmaz. Yes, guard/forward with Philly. He's rostered in 12% of Yahoo leagues. Again, right now, Maxey is out, Milton is out, Danny Green has stunk it up all season, and obviously we know that Ben is out, and we know that this young man, he's getting his opportunities here and there, has been inconsistent. His role has been inconsistent. I feel like with Danny Green playing so bad this season, you take a chance on a guy like this who's probably going to bring more to the table offensive-wise than what Green has been bringing this season. He is inconsistent. Please keep in mind, it's going to be very inconsistent, and he is a player that's very short term. So as soon as Maxey returns, you move on. Milton, you move on, because he's not going to see the same minutes once those two guys are available to Philly. Again, I would like to see him have more opportunity than Green, but again, obviously with Rivers, Green's going to get the minutes. But again, he's not playing well. Nonetheless, this young man is going to get you between 16 and 18 fantasy points on a nightly basis. Slightly will increase because of an increase in minutes due to other players being out. He's averaging 9 points on the season and 3 rebounds per game. The last week, he's averaging 17 points and 7 rebounds, which the 7 rebounds is crazy. But nonetheless, as you can see what he's doing this last week, his points have increased from 9 to 17, which is very good. That's what we like to see when we are picking up a player who is helping our team out because of things like COVID. And with him, he's making the most of his opportunity. But again, I will tell you, it will be very, very inconsistent. That is what we know about his game. And then again, with the minutes being up and down, you just really don't know. But I will tell you that he is shooting a terrible percentage from the field in 3. So again, I would not recommend him at all in a categories-based league, because this is going to be hit or miss. There may be some nights where he's going to get you to 17 points, or maybe it's going to be lower than that. And then what is he really doing for your team in a categories-based league? Because he's not a great rebounder. His shooting percentages are not that good, so he's going to hurt your team. But in a head-to-head or points, just total points-based league, he will help your team, especially if he's going to get his norm between 16 and 18. And then for right now, it should be a little higher, around maybe the 23 mark. That helps in a points-based league. So I only recommend him in a points-based league. Let's take a closer look at his stats to just see what he has been doing over the last several games. And this will kind of give us an idea of, what we need to do with him. Do we really need to waste a claim on him or not? So as you can see, let's look at just the last 2 games. The last 2 games, 24 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists, 20 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist. And then he's gotten a steal in both games. But when you scroll and look at the rest of the season, once they have all of their guys, it has been bad. It hasn't been good. So again, he is only recommended until Maxey and Milton returns. I cannot stress this enough. Do not keep him on your roster unless they start playing him. They're not going to keep him in the rotation on a consistent basis once those 2 guys return. So don't miss out on the next best player on waivers because you're holding on to this young man too long. Let's talk about Malik Monk. He was one of my faves last year. Sometimes inconsistent, but hell, he has been consistent with the Lakers this season. So Malik Monk is to me is up there with Anfernee Simons and a must-add player on waivers immediately. Right? One, obviously, he has a great rapport with the king, and when you have that, that's always good because LeBron trusts him, so LeBron's going to be looking for him out there. And right now, he's shooting over 39% from 3, so LeBron's going to be looking to get him the ball, especially when they are running a fast break. But nonetheless, he's rostered in 55% of Yahoo leagues. Season averages is between 19 and 21 fantasy points, which is going to increase because his role has increased and he has been playing extremely well over the last several games. Averages for the season is 12 points. That's really what he's going to do. He's going to score the ball. He is a scoring guard, okay? And he's shooting a career high from the field at 48%. Scoring. That is the only thing we look at and we think of when we want to add Malik Monk. Last 7 games, 29 points, 24 points, 22 points, 18, 15, 25, and 20. Let's look closely at it to just see what he really has been doing for the Lakers and what he can do for your team in a fantasy capacity. Let's check out Malik Monk, y'all. Let's just see if Malik Monk is somebody we really should be picking up. When you think about what we have discussed based on his stats, he is definitely a player you want to pick up. Again, look at the last 7 games. And he has chipped in with the rebounds and stuff. But when I think of Malik Monk, I'm thinking of scoring the ball, and that is exactly what he's going to do. He was doing this before he went out, and he's obviously coming back and doing it again. Let's look at before he went out, 20. And then let's scroll further down. Look. All he's going to do is bring you points, and strictly points-based league, in a categories-based league. The fact that he is shooting really good percentages from both field and threes, he's a player you can look at in a categories-based league, but most definitely in a points-based league as well, because he's going to get the fantasy points that you need on a nightly basis right now with players being out due to several reasons. Now, if I had McCollum or Dame and I couldn't get Simons, then I would look at Malik Monk right now, because right now he's producing, and he's going to be one of their players who is going to be able to produce these stats for the remainder of the season. So he's a long-term option because he has been playing very consistent throughout the season, and there's a role for him. You figure, especially with the unibrow out, the brow out, whatever he wants to call himself, there is definitely some points out there. There's opportunity, and when you're consistent and you're shooting really good from threes and from the field, you are going to be a player that most fantasy teams are going to want to pick up and utilize, because he's playing very well. Let's talk about Cedi Osman, forward with the Cavs. Now, this young man is a player that has been very inconsistent throughout the season. Not a player that I look at as a long-term option, but with Rubio out for the remainder of the season, just keep in mind that the Cavs did trade for Rondo, so Rondo will factor into this as well. But nonetheless, right now, this young man is playing very, very well. He's rostered in 10% of Yahoo leagues. I look at him again as a short-term ad daily. Yes, salary is going to be low, so it's not going to cost you that much. And he's averaging between 19 and 21 fantasy points on the season, so he's still producing those points that you may need at a really good rate. Okay, and again, with Rubio being out, there is definitely opportunity. If he's able to play well and shoot the ball well, which from threes he's shooting 40%, this should help your team. Only thing, I look at him as a player who will score the ball. He's averaging a little over 11 points per game for the season. That is the only thing that I expect from him. But while he is seeing an increase in minutes and playing very well in a categories-based league, if you have to play him, you can trust that he's going to shoot a really good percentage from threes and help your team in that category. So if you're struggling with the threes and you have to rely on someone like Osman, go on and pick him up. Short term, though, because I do believe the Cavs did not trade for Rondo for no reason, okay? They did not make a trade for Rajon Rondo for him to not be a part of that rotation. May not produce the scoring that Rubio did, but best believe he's gonna assist the ball a lot. So Rondo will factor into what Osman is able to do, and maybe they'll be out there together at times. We'll just have to really see exactly how things play out long term over the next several weeks. Let's talk about Nicholas Claxton, one of the guys I've been talking about prior to the start of the season, but with injuries and COVID protocol and all that stuff kind of, derailed the season that I expected him to have. But nonetheless, he is starting to pick pick it back up. He's rostered in 40% of Yahoo leagues. Expect that to increase drastically, especially with what he has been doing over the last 6 games. He's scored double-digit points over the last 6 games as well on the season. Average 9.2 points, 5.2 rebounds, and 1.3 blocks per game. So you're going to at least get some points, some rebounds, and some blocks from this young man, which is really good for a player who may be able to help you coming off of your bench. I would not say that this guy is going to be someone that you rely on every night as your main starter, but he can definitely come in and help your team off the bench. We'll take a closer look at what he has been doing over the last several games. Fantasy points wise, he's averaging between 20 and 22 fantasy points on the season. Let's look at what this young man is able to do or has been doing over the last several weeks in the season. This should help us and give us a good idea. So over the last several games, you see they really got their tails whipped overnight. BK, they took a serious L. But when you look at it, look, okay, again, you'll see in the points 11, 12, 14, 18, 10, 13, 9, 16, 17. So he has been scoring the ball, and then he's chipping in with some rebounds. Again, when you look at it, you would expect him to be a better rebounder considering he is 6'11". It's not the case. Again, if you are looking for rebounds and you were choosing between Claxton and Omer from the Heat, you are better off going with Omer because, okay, he's a better ad than this young man because he's giving you points and rebounds, but he's giving those rebounds to you at a higher rate. We're talking about, again, you've seen him had 17. I don't see any 17 rebound games from Claxton. So he's still a good ad because he is playing very well and he has been scoring the ball and he's in the rotation. He's starting. Okay. That means there's a chance. And KD will get the ball to him because KD need help and Harden as well. And, you know, with Kyrie only available part-time, you know that this young man is still going to have a role being a starter and playing around some really great players. The opportunity for him to be a better player is there. Again, you monitor the situation, and once you see his minutes start decreasing, because it has at times, and again with the injuries and protocol situation, that has hindered his productivity. But for right now, he is producing, and we're going to keep on utilizing his services as long as he's able to produce. That is what we do. Okay. That is part of fantasy, y'all. Y'all know what it is. I'm telling you, make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube channel and hit the like button for more. Let's talk about some players. I'm just going to throw these names out here. Some players you should consider. Furkan Korkmaz, guard with Denver. Monte Morris is back. So ultimately, Monte Morris will be elevated higher than him and be the starter and have more minutes than him. So this is a short term, and I look at him more daily fantasy. And yes, they both played pretty much same amount of minutes the other night. But nonetheless, once Monte Morris conditioning is fully back to where it should be, expect his minutes to decrease as Monte's minutes increase. And I don't look at him as a long-term ad. Okay. I look at Monte Morris as the long-term ad. He's the better guard, the better player. But nonetheless, short-term, and as long as they keep splitting the minutes, he's still a solid ad. Short-term, people. Remember, this is short term. So right now he's rostered in 22% of Yahoo leagues, and he's averaging between 18 and 21 fantasy points on the season. But again, short term. Remember that. And let's throw some other names out there due to circumstance. So, you know, Jimmy Butler dealing with the ankle injury. That's something you really need to keep an eye on, because if he missed some time, extended time, I'll say, then Max Strus and Caleb Martin should continue to have an expanded role and see some really good minutes and be able to produce for you. And Ja, he's dealing with left thigh soreness. Tyus Jones is a player to look at from daily perspective because of the left thigh soreness. So Ja. And then Terrence Ross and Gary Harris with the Orlando Magic are still really good ads. We talked about Gary Harris last week, and he's still been playing extremely well. So as long as he continues to play well, you keep on inserting him in that start lineup when you have to. Once he falls off, then you move on from him. You know, throughout his career, he has been inconsistent, but right now he has been playing extremely well over the last several games. So he is someone you can rely on. Do I see him as a long-term option? I don't, because of the career. And when I think of his career, it's been very inconsistent. But again, right now, you can utilize him. And with Terrence Ross, strictly a scorer. He's another one. Strictly a scorer, is going to score the ball. He's going to be inconsistent at times. But right now, since he's returned, he's been solid and a solid option, especially in daily. I look at both of these guys daily. Their salary pretty much is not going to cost your team a whole lot of money in daily. So keep an eye on these guys who are injured and their replacements. And if they can't go, if Butler can't go, then again, Caleb Martin and Max are players you should be considering. And that is just what we have to do out here. Make adjustments based on what is going on. And regardless if the player is on your team or not, you can still make those same adjustments because you are looking to better your team, whether you have Jimmy Butler or Ja. You don't have to have them to pick up their backups to help your team, okay? All right, y'all. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button. Make sure your notifications are turned on. Also, if you enjoy listening to the podcast and you want to hear more content, check out the podcast on all major podcast hosting platforms: Spotify, Apple, Google, Reason, whatever podcasting site, we are definitely on there. So check it out because we do discuss other type of content. Y'all have a great weekend. Peace.
Thanks for listening to The Score Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to The Score for more fun and great advice on how to win at fantasy basketball. And if you've got comments or questions about The Score, send them to waiverwirequeen@gmail.com. The Score.